How would you like a 15% discount to my daily email, the stack of stuff, the show notes, discounts to the conference, all of that? All you need to do is text the word show to 33777. You'll get the annual subscription with a 15% discount to my daily email. You'll get the stack of stuff, the links to the show notes, discounts to the conference, and so much more. All you have to do is text the word show, SHOW, to 33777. Text show to 33777.
Welcome to the Eric Erickson Show podcast, Hour 1.
Hello, America. Welcome. It is Eric Erickson here across the United States of America. The phone number is 877-973-7425. If you want to be on the program, I would love to have you. Thank you for all those of you who signed up for the show notes. Text Eric to 33777 to do so. There is outrage, I tell you, outrage about Pete Hegseth. He is treating the troops too lavishly. A report has come out that he, since he's been there, has spent something like $90 million on steak and lobster and ergonomically comfortable chairs, among other things, to feed those inside the Pentagon and the soldiers. Allow me to read for you part of the report. They serve more than 30 dozen eggs for breakfast every morning, washed down with 300 cups of coffee, and they go through 40 gallons of ice cream a day. Every night has a theme. Monday being Italian, Tuesday Mexican, and so on. Saturday night is always seafood night. The lobster and crab legs are shipped from the United States and driven down on a refrigerated truck. On seafood night, the crew serves up 400 of the tasty lobster tails, 130 pounds of Alaskan king crab legs, 135 pounds each of shrimp and scallops. That is an absurd amount of food for a single military base. That was also 2009 at Bagram Air Force Base under Barack Obama, when the left said absolutely nothing about this, and today is absolutely pitching a hysterical fit that Pete Hegseth would do the same thing that Barack Obama's Defense Department would do. Molly Young Fast. Some of the frivolous September purchases made under Pete Hegseth's stewardship included a $98,329 Steinway Sons grand piano for the Air Force Chief of Staff's home, where they do receptions for the troops. $5.5 million for Apple devices, such as new iPads, and an astronomical amount of shellfish, including $2 million for Alaskan king crab and $6.9 million worth of lobster tail. Lobster is apparently a favorite of Hegseth's Pentagon. The department spent more than $7.4 million on the luxury item in March, May, June, and August. And other pricey food items, the government spent $51 million for ribeye steak, $124,000 for ice cream machines, and $139,000 on 272 orders of donuts. You know, a lot of submarines have ice cream machines on them. Do you know why? Because the soldiers or the sailors on the submarines are underwater for a very long time, and they like to have some home comforts. Jamel Hill claims that SNAP recipients, they're the real problem. Look at this wasteful spending, as she quotes Molly Young Fast. Another one, this is Joseph Allen, who's a professor at Harvard. Pete Hegseth spent $2 million on crab legs. Jim McGovern, a congressman, says you can't have health care because of what the Pentagon is spending. Thomas Chatterson Williams, this is a man who said he was more at home in the streets of Kenya than in the United States. $6.9 million worth of lobster tail. He's outraged by this. Jeremy Conendike, who is the president of Refugees International, Doge gutted U.S. food aid so Pete Hegseth could splurge on steak. Rick Rosner, a former Jimmy Kimmel writer, says looking forward to the in-depth Fox News reporting on this. Just kidding. Fox News viewers will never find out. Jessica Sidman, the news food editor, for the Washingtonian. Almost $7 million in lobster, exclamation point. Cameron Hudson, who writes about U.S. Africa policy. Glad we got rid of the wasteful spending at USAID. Sophia Nelson, a national opinion columnist and TV pundit and the CEO of Redefining Freedom Center. $6.9 million in lobster tails for the whole army? No, for the whole military, lady. And on and on and on it goes. My friends, the care and feeding of our troops is foremost in the mind of the Secretary of Defense, and it doesn't matter whether they're Democrat or Republican. I see Norm Ornstein calling this a grift. Jonathan Allen, who is at NBC News. HHS is against donuts, and DOD is buying them by the thousands of dozens. Y'all, we do this for our troops. Barack Obama did it. George W. Bush did it. Joe Biden did it. Donald Trump is doing it. This is really, really wild to see the outrage from people on the left. I need to ask this question. Molly Young Fast, Dylan Williams, Norm Ornstein, Nate Geary. Is it Nate Geary? Yep. Sophia Nelson, Cameron Hudson, Jessica Sidman, Rick Rosner, Jeffrey Condict, Thomas Chatterton Williams, Congressman Jim McGovern, Senator Chuck Schumer. Do you all have any active duty enlisted members of your family? Do those of you who are outraged, do you actually have members of your family who are serving active duty, not officer, active duty, enlisted in the military? Y'all are acting like the people who got upset when my God rest his soul friend John Echtel asked if you guys knew anybody who owned a pickup truck. I'm guessing that none of you actually know anybody who serves active duty military, because this is something that's been going on for years and years. Again, I want to go back to the Obama administration in October of 2029. This is a story about Bagram Air Force Base. They serve more than 30 dozen eggs for breakfast every morning, washed down with 300 cups of coffee, and they go through 40 gallons of ice cream a day. Every night has a theme, with Monday being Italian, Tuesday Mexican, and so on. Saturday night is seafood night. The lobsters and crab legs are shipped from the United States and driven down on a refrigerated truck. On seafood night, the crew serves up 400 of the tasty tails, 130 pounds of Alaskan king crab legs, and 135 pounds each of shrimp and scallops, and that's at a single military installation. On one night, 400 lobster tails on one air base. Think about all the other bases. The Army bases, the Navy bases, the Air Force bases around the Middle East, people in active duty combat situations. This is what we do for them. That members of the press and so many pundits who go on television, particularly on CNN and MSNBC, expressed outrage about this shows you how detached they are from not just normal Americans, but from families who have enlisted soldiers, sailors, and airmen and Marines in their families. A friend of mine last night reacted to this story with outrage until someone pointed out this is actually very standard operating procedure for the Pentagon, and no one has had a complaint about it until Pete Hegseth did what his predecessors did. And the guy was like, I'm sorry, I'm going to leave my tweet up here. I had no idea. I made a big mistake. I've now been educated by people who know what they're talking about. Yeah, let me educate you. We have Americans who give their lives in service of our country, who are willing to die for you and me, and they go serve abroad, some of whom are in harm's way right now. And we feed them as well as we can to treat them because they're willing to die for you and for me. And the Senate Minority Leader, Chuck Schumer, is attacking the Secretary of Defense for feeding the troops well. A congressman from Virginia, where there is a massive number of military facilities, is attacking the Secretary of Defense for feeding the military well. Commentators from CNN to MSNB or MS Now are attacking the Secretary of Defense for feeding our troops well. Writers for The Atlantic are attacking the Secretary of Defense for treating our troops well. The commentariat class of the left doesn't seem to have any members of their family who have volunteered to die for this country, but apparently think that those people who are willing to die for them shouldn't be fed lobster and steak when they're in active duty combat. The reason the Democrats and the progressives are upset that Pete Hegseth spent millions of dollars on steak and lobster for the troops is because the Democrats and progressives wanted that money to take care of illegal aliens. The Democrats and progressives would prefer to feed illegal aliens lobster tail, king crab, and steak, and not our military. Because our military personnel are there to die for this country when a lot of the illegal aliens are coming here to kill Americans, and they would much prefer to subsidize people killing Americans these days. That's why the Democrats don't want to fund the Department of Homeland Security. They need Iranian terrorists to kill some of you so they can use your dead bodies in ad campaigns in November. That's what the Democrats want. That's what they need. Democrats actually need the Iranian sleeper cells to get activated and kill some people so that they can use it in ad campaigns in November to try to best the president. They left the border open for 4 years. The border was flooded with illegal aliens, many of whom got away unaccounted for, that even Central Command and the FBI and the Border Patrol at the time said were high risks of possibly being terrorists. And now the Democrats are like, well, I mean, we can't fund Homeland Security. You got Pramila Jayapal, who is the leader of the progressives in the House of Representatives.
Which we have been 150% clear we are not funding DHS, ICE, and CBP, not a penny more, because these are completely lawless agencies. They all have to be dismantled. They are not operating with regard to the rights of people in the United States, whether it's U.S. citizens, legal permanent residents, or people who have been here for a long time and committed absolutely no crime.
You got that? Of course, they came here and committed a crime by coming here. Here's one more from her. Listen to this one.
FEMA, TSA, some of the other entities within the Department of Homeland Security, which never should have been combined, by the way, into the Department of Homeland Security. I don't think that DHS should have been created after 9/11. That's when it was created.
You got that? She doesn't think DHS should have ever been created. They should have never combined those entities. Now she wants to defund them all. The progressives in the House of Representatives are upset that Pete Hegseth is feeding our troops well because they want to feed the illegal aliens well that they've let come across the border and then claim that, well, they've never committed a crime. There's no reasoning with Democrats who refuse to even acknowledge the basic truth. None. When Americans, God forbid, should any of us get killed by Iranian sleeper cells in this country, they will rush to blame Donald Trump. They will not accept responsibility for leaving the border open so those people could come here. They are right now attacking American sailors for sinking an Iranian frigate. The left is on the side of the Iranian mullahs, demanding that we suddenly give up. We kicked a hornet's nest, frankly. Now we got to exterminate the hornets, or they're going to come after us. Whether you like it or not, what you do is you rally around the American soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marines who are in harm's way, who are risking their lives to save us. What you do not do is you attack the Secretary of Defense for feeding those soldiers well, those soldiers who are willing to die to protect you. But then I'm gathering that most of the progressive left and members of the Democratic Party don't actually know anyone and certainly aren't kin to anyone who's active duty enlisted in the United States. They are that detached from America. They want to care and feed the illegal aliens, not the soldiers. From KCRA Channel 3 out in Sacramento, California, comes word that Kamala Harris is canceling parts of her book tour. The memoir is about her short-lived campaign. She was set to appear at Golden One Center in Sacramento on April 4th, in San Diego Civic Theater on April 6th, and Anaheim's Honda Center on April 10th. And suddenly there's a scheduling conflict. Is the book not selling? I don't know. On March 3rd, she had an appearance in Oakland. This is her home state, and Kamala Harris can't sell books in her home state. That's pretty problematic. By the way, it turns out multiple sources, let me just read you this, who are unauthorized to speak publicly about security matters told KCRA3 dozens of California Highway Patrol officers have been traveling with Kamala Harris for all the former vice president's book tour appearances. State officials would not say exactly how many officers are assigned to her, how long the arrangement will last, or how much taxpayer money is being used. Her campaign team didn't say anything, but it turns out it's California taxpayers are footing the bill for Kamala Harris's security detail. Remember, they're shaking down the oil and gas industry in California to pay for the high-speed rail line to combat climate change, and they don't have Kamala Harris paying for her own security. They've got you paying for her security. If you're a taxpayer in California, you are footing the security bill for Kamala Harris's book tour in California that she's now bailing on for a scheduling conflict. I've done book tours, people, for my own books. You kind of map those out in advance to make sure you're not having scheduling conflicts. Maybe she's going back to Central America to understand the root causes of illegal immigration. Maybe she's going back to do that. I don't know. But she's bailing on you people in California. Not that you wanted to go see her. That's probably why she's got a scheduling conflict, is didn't have enough people showing up to buy the book. Which, if they were showing up and buying the book, she could cover her own security costs, couldn't she? Let me tell you about the Eden Pure Thunderstorm. We may need to run one of those to get the smell of the Harris campaign out of the office. Now, you can wipe out all odors. Go to EdenPureDeals.com and put in the discount code ERIC3, and you will get 3 of them. You'll save $200. You get a money-back guarantee if they don't wipe out odors. Now, they don't just wipe out odors. They also wipe out 99.9% of bacteria and viruses. They also trap pollen, dust, pet dander particles. They do all of that, and they wipe out odors. And that's actually how I use it. I don't use it as the air purifier. I don't use it for the bacteria and viruses. I use it to wipe out odors. I've used it in rental cars. I've used it in hotel rooms. I've used it on my back porch. I've used it in my kitchen after frying shrimp in the house, which my wife really didn't like. But the Eden Pure Thunderstorm she loved because it wiped out the odors. Get 3 of them and save $200. They got a money-back guarantee if they don't wipe out your odors. See the site for details on that. Go to EdenPureDeals.com. Put in the discount code ERIC3, E-R-I-C-K, the number 3, no space, at EdenPureDeals.com. You'll get 3 of them. They're highly portable. Plug it into the wall or with a USB cord in your car, and they just work. Hello there. Welcome. It is Eric Erickson here across the United States. I got to spend a little more time on the situation at CNN, which is essentially becoming an Islamic propaganda network inside the United States. I mean, MSNBC, here's the problem. MSNBC is explicitly partisan propaganda. CNN is also increasingly partisan propaganda for the left, but claims to be middle of the road and objective, and it's not. They are melting down about the possibility of CBS and Bari Weiss taking over editorial control at CNN, but somebody needs to. I want to play for you something that happened last night on Abby Phillips' struggle session on CNN. Just you gotta listen to this first, so that you understand the situation.
2 Republicans say Muslims don't belong here after an attempted terror attack against New York's Mayor Zohran Mamdani, and the House Speaker Mike Johnson says nothing really to condemn those comments. Another special guest is going to be with us at the table when we come.
Did you get that? Did you get that? Let me replay the key part here.
Mayor Zohran Mamdani and the House Speaker Mike. against New York's mayor, Zoran Mamdani.
An attack against New York Mayor Zoran Mamdani as they're showing the terrorist being led away in handcuffs. You got that? An attack on New York City's mayor, and people are lighting Abby Phillip on fire today. She has apologized for saying it was an attack on the mayor of New York. It was not. It was an attack on protesters outside Gracie Mansion. Gracie Mansion is the mayoral residence in New York City. It's fine public housing in New York. I'm going to defend Abby Phillips, who I regularly criticize on this program and on social media, and her show Struggle Session. Abby Phillip was reading a teleprompter. In fact, you can hear her stumble over the words. It's like her brain tripped, realizing what was going on wasn't true. Listen, you can hear the brain trip when she gets there.
Two Republicans say Muslims don't belong here after an attempted terror attack against New York's mayor, Zoran Mamdani, and the House Speaker.
You got that? She tripped over that, like her brain would say, whoa, 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 and she went anyway. Now, here's what you need to know. I've been in this business. I've worked at CNN. I've worked at Fox. Most of the hosts read their opening monologue that comes up on the teleprompter. I, your host, do not have a teleprompter. I actually have one in my office, but it's blank right now. I do it if I got an ad script I got to read for a pre-recorded segment or something. But I talk for 3 hours with no monologue or no script, for better or worse. It is all off the top of my head. I am a professional. Abby Phillip has writers who write the words that she reads on the screen. And typically what happens is during the show, you're in free form. There's no script. The beginning, you open the show, you're reading off a teleprompter, and you have gotten that in advance, and you mark it up, you make your changes, you give it back. When you're headed to the commercial break, that's called the tease. And most often the hosts don't read the tease in advance. They just read what's on the teleprompter. So she was reading something someone else wrote. That's not her fault. She got it wrong. She apologized online. And in fairness, there were probably more people on social media seeing her apology than actually watch her show. That's not the problem. Here's the problem. I want to play for you another clip. This is Abby Phillip and I think Bridget Moynihan.
Is there a line anywhere right now on Capitol Hill or elsewhere in the Republican movement when it comes to anti-Muslim?
I can't speak for Mike Johnson, but I would say we've had 2 terrorist attacks here in the last 10 days.
What does that have to do with Muslims?
So can we condemn those?
Johnson.
Why are we?
Of course. What does that have to do with Muslims?
What does that have to do with Muslims?
What does that have to do with Muslims? They were 2 Islamic terrorists. And Abby Phillip doesn't want to actually talk about Islamic terrorism in the United States. She wants to talk about violence against Muslims. This is what happens in the United Kingdom. It's what happened in Australia as well. After attacks on Jews and others, it's always diversity is our strength. We can't talk about the Muslim problem. And by the way, it's not Iranians who are trying to blow people up. It's not Mexicans who are trying to blow people up. It's not Hondurans who are trying to blow people up. It's not South Africans who are trying to blow people up. It's Muslims who are trying to blow people up. Not every Muslim is a terrorist. But a lot of the terrorists these days happen to be Muslims. And then, like a lot of the school shooters happen to be trans. But we're not allowed to talk about that either, are we? Because they are a protected class in the minds of the media, including Abby Phillip. The fact that they want to actually pivot the conversation away from Islamic terror to, oh, people are being mean to the Muslims. Why are people being mean to the Muslims? What is the precipitating event? It is 2 Muslims screaming Allah Akbar, trying to throw an explosive device at protesters at Gracie Mansion. But you notice, even on CNN today, Wolf Blitzer is talking about it at Mayor Mamdani's house. They're making it sound like it was an attack at his house. And that's not Wolf Blitzer either. That's the teleprompter again. The problem at CNN is far more nefarious. But I want to play one more clip from Abby Phillip's show to drive this home. This is my friend Anna Navarro. Anna Navarro is a friend of mine. Disagree with her on almost everything. Love her dearly. This is the conversation where she says something very much like Abby Phillip that is very wrong. And you will note this is the problem for Abby Phillip. She didn't catch the teleprompter. And I don't fault her for that. But this one, she's the moderator who fact-checks Scott Jennings all the time. But Scott. And she didn't fact-check Anna Navarro. Someone else had to jump in to fact-check something Anna said that's wrong.
Ironic is, so supposedly some of these comments are as a result of the attempt against Mayor Mamdani in New York.
Yeah, the attempt against Mayor Mamdani,
who was raised Muslim, was he not? Himself. Yeah. So they're being anti-Muslim and they're finally defending Mamdani over something.
To be clear, the attack wasn't on Mayor Mamdani. It was on people protesting. It was attacking protesters, people protesting Mamdani.
Right by his house.
To frame it as an anti-Muslim attack would actually completely reverse what happened.
That's Joe Borrell.
No, I'm not saying that it was anti-Muslim. I'm saying that they're finally doing that Republicans are finally doing something.
Now, see, so Anna gets very defensive because she gets it wrong. This is at his house. Notice the framing now is at his house. No. It's at the mayoral mansion, Gracie Mansion, where he lives right now. You can say that's his house, but you wouldn't if it was Republican, because you're trying to make it seem like there's something wrong here and it's directed at Muslims when it was actually two Muslim agitators who tried to blow up the crowd. And Abby Phillips, you will note, sat through that statement and never corrected Anna, who said something as wrong as what Abby Phillips said. And this comes the day after the CNN story about the two terrorists. And this is how the story began. Two Pennsylvania teenagers crossed into New York City Saturday morning for what could have been a normal day, enjoying the city during abnormally warm weather. But in less than an hour, their lives would drastically change, as the pair would be arrested for throwing homemade bombs during an anti-Muslim protest outside of Mayor Zoran Mamdani's home. Here's what we know so far. Notice again the phrasing. It's very intentional propagandistic phrasing. It's not outside Gracie Mansion. It's outside Mayor Zoran Mamdani's home. Home is where the heart is. It's where the heart of the city lives, the mayor of New York, and someone threw homemade bombs. Notice as well that this piece doesn't mention it was Islamic terrorists throwing the bombs. It made it sound like that these people were throwing bombs at the mayor's house. It is an editorial line that has infested CNN. It is deeply hostile to actually just telling people the truth. It's got to be packaged in phrases that bring sympathies to their preferred narrative. Mayor Zoran Mamdani's house. The pair would be arrested for throwing homemade bombs during an anti-Muslim protest outside the mayor's home. You see, the implication in that sentence is that these were anti-Muslim protesters throwing the bombs. This is a deep malevolence inside CNN towards telling people the truth in ways that shake up the narrative. They are protecting the precious. They are protecting the narrative. This is, by the way, one reason that I regularly go on News Nation now with my friend Leland Vittert, which is a much more fair and balanced centrist news channel than what CNN has become. CNN, the overnight 2 a.m. repeat of Sean Hannity's program on Fox News gets more viewers than any program on CNN at this point. Let me say that again. The 2 a.m. repeat of Sean Hannity's show on Fox News gets more viewers than any show on CNN. That's a problem for the network. MSNBC is already dominant with the left. CNN could choose to be the network that wishes to be as down the middle as possible, covering both sides with as accurate and honest framing of the narrative as possible, but CNN regularly chooses to frame things in a way that's sympathetic to the progressive talking points. It is the progressives using the phrase Mayor Mamdani's home, and that's what CNN chooses to use. It is the progressives who have tried to minimize the fact that these were two homegrown Islamic terrorists throwing improvised explosive devices, and that's what CNN has done. And it's not a coincidence that the woman who wrote the story uses they-them pronouns and graduated from the University of California, Berkeley, and is a massive progressive. because that's who works at CNN. I saw it when I was there firsthand, and I left in 2013. It was already a well-known problem there, and it's only gotten worse. The network made a choice to be MSNBC Light, now MS Now Light, except MS Now has already cornered the market on progressives. So when you have the writers and producers feed a script to Wolf Blitzer, who I know and very much like, and the writers and producers put the words in Wolf Blitzer's mouth that it was Mayor Mamdani's home as opposed to the mayoral residence, that is a spin directed at making a narrative sympathetic to progressives so that people believe this was an attack on the mayor. In fact, Anna Navarro believed it was an attack on the mayor. She said as much. She said this was an attack on the mayor at his home. No, it wasn't. And yet that's what she said. That's what Abby Phillip read off the teleprompter. Someone at CNN either believed that or didn't care enough about the truth to get it right. It's time for Bari Weiss to get in there and clean up this network. I have a lot of friends at CNN, including a number of the anchors I think very highly of, who were very supportive of me when I was there as a conservative, willing to make people mad and had Media Matters coming after me on a daily basis. And they had my back. Even a number of the progressives who were there had my back. And I'm ashamed of the network's editorial shifting to just carry the progressive line, but do it more implicitly than MS Now, and then lie about their intentions when even when I was there, not a single person would come up to me in the hallway. This is 2010 to 2013. Not a single person would come up to me in the hallway and just say, hello, I love what you do at Red State. They would whisper, I listen to you on the radio. I read Red State. I worked at Fox for 5 years. No one ever had to whisper to me. Now, for those of you who are trying to be defensive of CNN, here's your problem. I worked there and you didn't, and I worked there a decade ago. And then conservative employees at the network would whisper to you in the hallway they didn't feel safe speaking up in 2010, 11, 12, and 13. It's only gotten worse. If you work at a newsroom and you are someone who doesn't feel safe speaking up and you're just random employee because of your political views, that's a problem. And that's been pervasive at the network to the extent now that they can let go out this story that suggested that the attack at Mayor Mamdani's home was anti-Muslim protesters and that these two Pennsylvania teenagers, it was just a normal day. It was going to be a wild life for them. They let the story go out, and then they trotted out Brian Stelter after that was over to serve as their corporate apologist. He served as CNN PR. Now, Brian Stelter is supposedly their objective media commentator, and what he did when he came out is he said, the story was good, the tweet was bad. Except Brian failed to note that the tweet was just quoting the story. He pretended that those lines did not exist in the story. He humped the leg of his paylords. We need a free press in the United States. We don't have it because the press is captured by their hatred of conservatives and Donald Trump. A free people need a free press. You can't be a free people when the press isn't free, because the press is captured by their biases and prejudices against people on the right, against Christians, against conservatives, even against white people at this point. They look at Fox News and they're like, oh, you have Fox News, but they are trying to shut down Fox News regularly. They try to censor Fox News. They don't like that Fox News dominates them. Look at their reaction to CBS News for hiring Bari Weiss. Have you seen CBS News lately? It's actually as liberal as it has been. It's just in certain nuanced ways, providing more commentary to the stories. It's actually doing a better job. It's still liberal, but it's gotten better. And the rest of the media, including CNN, resents like hell what Bari Weiss has done to CBS News. Bari Weiss needs to do to CNN what she did to CBS News, and then they can actually be fair and balanced. Until then, watch News Nation. They actually are straight down the middle. They challenge both sides. I love going on it. I know I'm going to get pushback. It's not an easy time. You're challenged in your conversation on both sides without the five talking heads yelling at each other. It's much better produced, which is why they're starting to gain traction, and their weekend shows now are dominating CNN and MS Now. Hello and welcome. It is Eric Erickson here. The phone number is 877-973-7425. Y'all, so my brother-in-law was in the Navy, retired as a Master Chief, and worked on minesweepers, among other things. And there is a story out that we have essentially decommissioned all of our minesweepers as Iran is beginning to lay mines in the Straits of Hormuz. And people are like, oh, what perfect timing. Brilliant, Pete Hegseth. Do you guys just not know? Do the people on Twitter who are experts about war all of a sudden not know that the reason we're decommissioning the minesweepers is we have new technology? The Navy now operates underwater drones that are actually quicker and more efficient at getting rid of the mines. Do people not know this? Is it just me? It's actually well documented. We decommissioned the minesweeper ships because we have a fleet of underwater drones that are faster at getting rid of the mines and go deep, up down to 300-400 feet underwater. We have underwater divers who can tag along with them if need be. We don't actually need the minesweeper ships anymore because we have this new technology that is drone-based. And everybody's like, oh, my gosh, we got rid of the minesweepers. We're not going to be able to clear the mines. No, we upgraded the technology, which is why we got rid of the ships. And people are acting like this is not a thing, but it actually is a real thing. The people who just want to scare everybody online, goodness. Let me scare you about your data and privacy. I was doxxed because somebody was able to get online and buy my information from a data broker. And not only was I doxxed, they swatted me. They had police show up at my house, they hijacked phone systems and claimed I had murdered my wife. Incogni protects you. They go online and they get the data brokers to take down your information. You can go to incogni.com/Eric today and get 60% off. It's INCOGNI. INCOGNI. Incogni.com/Eric. I bet you get those daily phone calls trying to approve you for loans and other nonsense, your extended car warranty phone calls and stuff. Those people get your information from the data brokers. They can't find you to call you if they can't get your information. And Incogni works behind the scenes, wiping your information off the internet. Incogni.com/Eric. INCOGNI. Incogni.com/Eric protects you from scams and spammers and harassment. Incogni.com/Eric.